Welcome, welcome, welcome. This will not be another interview. We're appreciative to get news media attention. We do appreciate it. But there was a reason why we didn't like Donald Trump, and it was because he spread fake news. And so we don't tolerate that at all. So there was some misinformation, and we're trying to clear that out. There was an article, we just covered that. There's a video of that by Newsweek that came out recently, and it was covered by Timcast and author Tim Poole. Unfortunately, Tim did not do independent researching and just went off the article, and he spread misinformation. We've already tried to get a hold of him to correct this, but we want to show you the conversation that we had so far. So this was the information. He was doing the Timcast. Here's the actual episode. California secessionists call for a national divorce to avoid civil war as conflict boils in Texas on Rumble by Timcast. So if you find that episode, this is the episode we're talking about. And here's where it gets interesting. Let's zoom in. So at 10:40, he says, well, yes, California wants to do this, split up California, which is not what we want to do. And he goes, however, it's unclear how many of these people are California residents on the Yes California page. Tim, the reason that's unclear is that nobody on the Yes California website, the Facebook page and Twitter page ran by Louis Marinelli are actual Californians. Basically, they're all gone. So he has, at one point, Calexit, Yes California, the organization that represents the idea of Calexit, or one of them that represents it, had a Facebook and a Twitter page. On those pages, we had that full of Californians supporting independence. Louis kicked me off the pages, put words in my mouth, defamed my name, made sure I could never get access on the pages, spread racist ideas under my name. And then now most of that page is non-Californians. So although it says Calexit, it's mostly non-Californians, which would make sense because the idea being promoted by Yes California, Louis, Calexit 3.1 is to split California up into two, a red and a blue state. And that would never be supported by anybody who backs Calexit, and that would never be supported by the California people. So it's kind of obvious this is fake, because there's ideas being presented in here that just have no truth on the ground here. But I wanted to point out 1050, Tim points out, it's unclear how many of these people are California residents. Yet none, Tim. It doesn't represent the movement at all. Louis has been disavowed, and he has nothing to do with Calexit. And nobody in Calexit would say, let's split up California, period. The other one was at 11:06. Louis is president of Calexit, and I have left the movement. So that's also grossly incorrect. Newsweek printed that, but I had that corrected. So I have not left the movement. Louis is not leader of the movement. I'm leader of the movement, and he has never been leader of the movement for many years, and he's completely disavowed, and I never left the movement. I still have the SCA channel, and I'm still doing interviews and giving news whenever I can. So total lie, total misinformation. Now, again, Tim is just reading from Newsweek. He didn't make this stuff up, fair, but he didn't do independent research. He just kind of spread it. So not super great. We contacted Timcast at info@Timcast. This is the email that we sent them at 11:15 a.m. February 5th to Timcast. Are you aware the FBI is actively looking for Louis Marinelli? Timcast just promoted a Russian spy evading FBI. Are you aware the FBI is looking for Louis Marinelli? Here's some other things you said about me that are completely wrong. Did you know all these facts? Same thing we sent to Newsweek. Proof I am the leader. Proof Louis is being sought after by the FBI. Proof no one in the movement acknowledges him at all, in addition to other videos. So we sent him that same amount of good information. So hopefully he'll print an update. He has been informed. We don't necessarily blame him, but Tim, man, you're constantly talking about how media misinformation, bro, and you couldn't do a 5-second Google search. If you just type in the guy's name, it comes up clear. So guess not. Had to correct this, so he was wrong. This is misinformation. Let me play it for you just so nobody thinks that I'm making it up. Here you go.
Was hoping to spark a slave revolt, but they didn't revolt. Then war broke out. Newsweek reports, the leader of a California secessionist movement, known as Yes California, told Newsweek that a national divorce is needed to avoid another civil war. Yes, California is currently campaigning on a ballot measure called Calexit 3.1, which would break California into two, establish a country separate from the U.S. in the San Francisco Bay Area and along the central California coast. It would be called Pacifica. So far, 92,000 people have signed up to join the campaign through the movement's website. It's unclear how many of these people are California residents. There are many secessionist movements in California. Some want the coastal areas to break off and the inland areas to separate so that there is a Republican and Democrat separation.
That's not the Calexit movement.
Sure. I don't know how the coastal states would survive without farmland. The movement was founded in 2015 by conservative activist Louis Marinelli, who is the current president of the movement, and Marcus Ruiz Evans was a conservative talk radio host at the time. Evans left the movement in 2021. Quote,
there you go. So that's him spreading misinformation. Those are all lies. So that's just something I wanted to say. Now, I do have to point out, though, unfortunately, that Tim Poole got the facts wrong. So if you watch this episode by Tim, and I would love to be on your show, Tim. I've watched it for years. I watched it when you were back in Occupy, man. I know exactly who you are. If you watch this show, he spends most of his time saying secession can't happen because it would become violent. And the reason California secession automatically must mean violence is water. This is the same thing the Warner Brothers documentary misled viewers on, about my opinion, where they said, in the Warner Brothers documentary, they just said that I said there's no water problem. That's not what happened. I said there's no water problem after explaining to them the details of California's water situation for over an hour. They clipped the whole thing. Tim Poole is also incorrect about his argument that Calexit can't happen because of water. Number one, we have more water than we need to provide for the people of California, period, in statement. Number two, 80+% of our water does not go to the people or industries in California. It goes to one thing, ag. Number three, 80 to 90% of the ag we make is exported, not here. 80 to 90% of the ag that uses 80% of our water is directly exported. We only need to make about 10% of the food we produce in order to feed ourselves. And we have about 800% more water than we need to produce that amount of food. However, if there was a divorce and there was a problem, we do need a lot of the water for export. We do take some water from the Colorado. We could easily replace the loss of Colorado River water with water we already have domestically, as long as we're willing to shut down our global fruits and vegetables and agriculture trade. And that sounds harsh, but here's the thing. The ag business in California is 2% of the economy. We could absolutely afford to wipe out the entire ag export business, only produce 10% for us, and we would have 800% more water than we need to do that. Nobody knows those facts, so nobody gets it right. So we export most of the ag. We only use 10%. Most of California's water goes to the ag. It could provide the people. Most people don't know that. So 80% of our water goes to ag. 80 to 90% of our ag is shipped out. We only need 10% here. We have plenty of water and land to produce all the food we need for ourselves. We do get some water from the Colorado River. People say if we secede, that'll be cut off. I just explained to you how if that's done, that's not really an issue for California. If America cuts off the Colorado River, we'll just cut off 90% of the fruits and vegetables they eat. I don't want to do that, and I don't think this is realistic because most of the world's moving to international trade. So if you look at the trajectory of every country on the planet since 1990, over the last 3 decades, every country's moving to more international trade. That includes North Korea, Iran, China, Russia. All the bad guy countries are moving to international trade. Everybody's trying to do more international trade deals. Nobody's saying let's not trade except for America with Trump, backed up by Biden. So the idea that California would split off from America and then we would not have a trade deals goes against basically how all 200 plus nations on the world operate and the way all of their leaders have been operating for the last 3 decades. Simply put, there's no one thinking that way, and that is a dead concept that belongs to the 1940s era. So even if we seceded, we would keep trade deals. But if they wanted to play tough, we'd destroy our ag industry, lose 1 to 2%, maybe 1.5% of our economy. Nothing. We could easily overcome that, and we'd be able to feed ourselves and have plenty of water. Now, if we want to keep the ag export industry, yes, we do need to work together. But finally, the last point that wasn't printed by Warner Brothers, and Tim, I guess, isn't aware of this, Colorado River is going away. I'm a climate change expert. I've been working on climate change for over 7 years. Do not count on the Colorado River. And this is what I told the Warner Brothers people. There's an article by one of the people who runs the Colorado River where he wrote a fictional story about the river drying up and states seceding. I'm not making that up. One of the people connected to the Colorado River wrote about states seceding over the loss of water. The Colorado River is going away. It will never come back because of climate change. It will basically be dead soon. And there's nothing you can do to fix that, sort of reversing the climate about 1.5 to 1 degrees, which is beyond all combined human efforts. So impossible. So river's not there from Colorado River. There's nothing to complain about. We have plenty of food and water for ag for us. That'll be no option. Everybody does international trade. Nobody's not doing international trade. None of those points were brought up about Tim Poole, which is why I say that his consensus that California seceding has to be violent because of lack of water is just completely wrong because of a lack of information. Otherwise, hey, I watched Tim Poole from 9/11, right? When he was doing reporting there. I don't always agree with everything he says, but he's been at it. I respect personal journalism, but we got to get misinformation right. So that's wrong. That's wrong. Originally came from this article. And unfortunately, people just ran with it. So we are supportive of Calexit. We love the idea. We never forgot. Unfortunately, our social media pages were stolen from us, and the social media companies don't want to recognize the fact that somebody's being investigated by the FBI and that we had proper authority to take over the pages. I don't know why. We do what we can. Thank you. That's all the information for now, and we'll see you soon.